The times that I felt my best are the moments that I've been able to pull that plug and say, Chris, shh, shh, shh.
This video will be a follow-up to my previous video, How You Got Social Anxiety. In that video, I narrated the path that I and many others go down that leads to social anxiety. If that interests you, you could leave this video and watch that one first, or watch it after. I'll leave a link to it and the rest of my mental health series in the description. But back to the topic for today. Social anxiety is undoubtedly an extremely hard feat to overcome, and it takes a huge amount of preparation, dedication, and time. One of the most important components of beating social anxiety is breaking down and recreating your mindset and beliefs on social interactions. You have to let go of all the ideas that social anxiety has put in your head and lay a new foundation, which is what this video will focus on. I want to be completely transparent though. This advice is not coming from someone who has fully beaten this problem yet. In fact, I will probably come back to this video and remind myself of what I have said. However, don't think that what I have to say has no merit, because I believe that these 3 methods of adapting how you think about being social will benefit your journey to win against social anxiety. With that said, let's begin. The first step to gaining an advantage over social anxiety is actually by throwing stuff out. That is, removing the many false narratives and misconceptions that have developed inside your head because of social anxiety. The first myth is that there are consequences for approaching and talking to people. More specifically, that there are consequences if you mess up in some way or act weird. I cannot tell you how long this has hindered me from approaching people. I always used to think that if I made a mistake while interacting with someone, they would go and tell their friends and everyone would find out. Saying it out loud now makes me realize how irrational it is, but I'm sure that this thought has prevented us from talking to people on many occasions. In reality, the fact is that people just don't do that. They do not care enough if you mess up to go tell everyone about it. If it does happen, they move on with their day, and then you move on with yours. The second misconception is that no matter how hard you try, you will never improve. Again, this is something that I deeply struggled with. There comes a moment where you feel like you've reached a point of no return, that there is no way to climb out of the hole you've fallen into. I'm here to remind you that, not just with this topic, but in all of your problems, you will never reach a point of no return. It will never be too late to improve yourself. The key is believing that you can improve. If you do not have a positive mindset, then you will have a much harder time making progress. The next cluster of myths are centered around developing friendships and the challenges that come with it if you have social anxiety. I will identify all of them and then offer some universal words of advice. The first misconception here is the belief that no one wants to be your friend. Having this sentiment can completely halt your quest to overcome your social anxiety. The next one is that you need to have a ton of friends in order to say you've beaten your social anxiety. The final myth is that you have to make a friend every time you walk up to someone. Now, let me explain why all of these are just false ideas put into your head because of social anxiety. First, humans are naturally social people. Even introverts like to interact with people. Therefore, there are tons of people out there who are always looking to meet someone new, and you fit that criteria of a new person. Next, having a ton of friends is a sentiment that clings onto the memories of childhood, where we were friends with everybody. In real life, that is just not the case. It is much more important to cultivate a few good friendships with people that genuinely care about you versus having a bunch of acquaintances. You will have to figure out who is who on your own. Finally, nobody, and I mean nobody, makes a friend every time they interact with someone. This goes back to my last video when I talked about rejection. You will be rejected when trying to make friends. Most of the time, it will be for reasons that are completely out of your control. That doesn't matter though, because every interaction you have is a success. Each conversation makes you more comfortable around people and brings you one step closer to beating social anxiety. But before you can do that, you will have to let go of all these misconceptions that have most likely taken root in your mind. This section builds on the misconceptions discussion, but it deserves its own part. We've heard the phrase, fake it till you make it, and it can be applied to so many facets of life. Have you ever considered using it to overcome your social anxiety? If you have thought about it, did you just brush it off and deem it useless? Let me tell you why I think this mindset could be super beneficial on your journey. First, let me bring up one final myth that serves as the starting point for faking it. It is the myth that people know you have social anxiety. Contrary to what your head might be telling you, people do not automatically assume you have social anxiety when you walk up to them, or if they see you around. The only way they'll know is if you tell them directly. And if you want to do that, obviously there's no problem. So when you free yourself from believing this, you give yourself the ability to fake it. The two methods within this mindset that I would like to highlight are pretending and copycatting. First, with pretending. If you are in a social environment, think to yourself, what would I do right now if I didn't have social anxiety? Don't think about your current emotions or any other thoughts bouncing around in your head. Just focus on playing pretend for a little while. You can also act as an observer. Look out at all the people and see what everyone else is saying, how they are behaving. If you see or hear something that fits your personality, copy it. Obviously, you don't need to do it exactly the same, but use what you have seen in your interactions and see if it works. The results of the fake it till you make it strategy are supposed to be that what you are faking eventually becomes real. And I think that can definitely be the case for using it to beat social anxiety. This is because the more you fake it, the less you hold on to all of the baggage that weighed you down from interacting with people in the first place. However, don't be discouraged if this doesn't work. There are other methods, but it just takes a little time. This final section will present a clear and step-by-step process to lessen your social anxiety. Just make sure you keep everything we have talked about so far in the back of your head. It will serve as the foundation. Simply put, you cannot go from 0 to 100 in one attempt. It may take 10, maybe 50, maybe more. On top of that, there is no way to avoid being uncomfortable. In fact, I hope you feel uncomfortable, because that means you are in a situation where you can grow. First, do your research. This won't produce tangible results, but it will set you up to go out and make changes. Next, get over the hump of being uncomfortable with failing and rejection. That comes with repetition, and over time, being rejected will feel less and less severe. Now, you can start making small steps towards developing strong relationships. The first step might come with approaching someone and asking a basic question. It could be, hey, do you know where the bathroom is? Or, hey, do you know any good food places around here? That's all you have to do. We then move up a little. Try to hold the conversation for a few minutes. Get to know them a little bit. Ask a follow-up question to one of their answers. Now you're really making good progress. The next phase would be asking to exchange information. Again, this is a completely normal thing to do after having a brief conversation. All you have to do is say, hey, I have to go, but I'd really like to talk again sometime. What's your number? Now, you have the ability to move up into setting up hangouts or meetups where you can really start developing relationships. Once again, this all comes with repetition. I'm not saying you have to get to the hangout stage on your first go. You should also not expect to get there every time because, as I said earlier, you will not make a friend after every social interaction. The point is, look at each interaction like a new opportunity to test and improve your social abilities. Even if the conversation goes nowhere, you succeeded because at least you approached that person.
And I think back to all the amount of time I've probably spent suffering as a result of brain noise. Hours of my life wasted. Just shh.
This might seem contradictory, but you are not going to improve by watching this video. The only way for you to actually get better is to go out into the world and try. No video or article compares to fighting through the fear and walking up to someone. Look, we don't know each other. I can't monitor if you are trying to beat social anxiety. At the end of the day, it is up to you if you want to overcome this challenge. But just remember that you have so much time. You have your entire life to solve this problem, so don't get discouraged if it doesn't get fixed in a week. Also, this is another reminder that people want to be your friend. I guarantee you that there are people out there who will be happy if you walk up to them and start a conversation. So go out there and do it. As always, this has been Dark Horse, and I will see you in the next video.